The forgotten small boy home alone in the demon shadows. Once upon a time, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, there lived a small boy named Timmy. Timmy's parents had gone on a last-minute trip, leaving him home alone for the night. The house was old and creaky, with long, dark hallways and mysterious secrets hidden within its walls. Little did Timmy know that this night would test his courage in ways he could never imagine. As the sun dipped below the horizon, darkness crept in like a silent predator. Timmy closed the front door, feeling a strange chill in the air. The house seemed to come alive as eerie shadows danced across the walls. Timmy tried to shake off the unease and distract himself with a cartoon on the television. Minutes turned into hours, and Timmy found himself dozing off on the couch. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen, jolting him awake. His heart raced as he tiptoed toward the source of the sound. The kitchen was a mess, with shattered dishes strewn across the floor. Timmy's eyes widened in fear. He knew he was not alone. Feeling his pulse pounding in his temples, Timmy made his way back to the living room. He tried to convince himself that it was just his imagination playing tricks on him, but the flickering lights and strange whispers in the dark only intensified his fear. As the night wore on, the house seemed to grow more sinister. Timmy heard whispering voices, indistinguishable and filled with malice. Shadows twisted and contorted in the corners of his vision, making him question his own sanity. But he couldn't ignore the feeling that he was being watched. Timmy decided to take refuge in his bedroom, hoping that the familiar surroundings would offer some comfort. However, as he closed the door, a chilling breeze swept through the room, extinguishing his nightlight. The darkness enveloped him, and he could barely see his own trembling hands. As Timmy fumbled for the light switch, he heard a faint scratching sound coming from under his bed. His heart raced as he slowly bent down to look. With each inch closer to the ground, the scratching grew louder and more menacing. As he peered under the bed, his blood turned to ice. Two glowing eyes stared back at him from the darkness. A skeletal hand extended, reaching for Timmy's ankle. He screamed and stumbled backward, crashing into a bookshelf. The impact knocked him unconscious, and the room fell silent. When Timmy regained consciousness, he found himself in a room he had never seen before. It was dimly lit, and the air was thick with an otherworldly presence. Before him stood a tall figure dressed in tattered black robes, its face hidden beneath a hood. "Who are you?" Timmy's voice quivered with fear. The figure chuckled, a low and haunting sound. "I am the Shadow Keeper, and this house is my domain. You have trespassed into my world, little boy." Timmy's heart sank. The house had a malevolent spirit lurking within its walls, and it had set its sights on him. The Shadow Keeper raised a skeletal finger, and the room filled with countless shadows. They slithered and twisted, forming grotesque shapes that danced menacingly around Timmy. "You will become one with the shadows," the Shadow Keeper hissed. "But first, you must endure the true horrors of this house." Timmy's survival instinct kicked in, and he mustered the courage to fight back. He ran through the darkened corridors, the house seemingly conspiring against him. Timmy's heart raced as he darted through the labyrinthine hallways, desperately searching for a way out. The house seemed to shift and change, its layout morphing before his eyes. The walls closed in, and the air grew heavy with malevolence. But Timmy refused to succumb to the horrors that surrounded him. In a stroke of luck, he stumbled upon a dusty attic staircase concealed behind a forgotten painting. With a surge of adrenaline, he raced up the stairs, hoping that the attic would provide him with some respite from the terrors below. As Timmy reached the top, he gasped in horror at the sight before him. The attic was a nightmarish tableau, filled with cobwebs, broken toys, and decaying furniture. But there, in the center of it all, stood a flickering lantern, its warm glow contrasting with the darkness that permeated the house. Timmy approached the lantern cautiously, feeling a strange pull toward it. He sensed that it held the key to his escape, a glimmer of hope amidst the encroaching despair. As he reached out to grab it, the lantern suddenly shattered, engulfing the room in darkness once more. In the inky blackness, Timmy's courage faltered. The shadows closed in around him, their tendrils grasping at his limbs, threatening to pull him into their sinister embrace. But in that moment of despair, Timmy remembered something important. He remembered the power of light, both physical and metaphorical. Summoning every ounce of bravery he had left, Timmy closed his eyes and imagined a bright light within his heart. He envisioned it growing stronger and brighter, radiating warmth and courage. With a burst of determination, he opened his eyes and let the light within him shine. In an instant, the shadows recoiled, writhing in agony at the brilliance before them. The house trembled, its walls shaking as if in defeat. The Shadow Keeper's malevolent presence dwindled, overshadowed by the boy's unwavering spirit. Timmy took this opportunity to flee, making his way down the now familiar corridors, the house seeming to relent in its pursuit. He burst through the front door, gasping for breath, and found himself bathed in the welcoming glow of the moonlight. As the first rays of dawn illuminated the neighborhood, Timmy stood outside his house, breathless but triumphant. The night had tested his courage and resolve, but he had emerged stronger. He knew that the house held its secrets, its darkness forever etched in his memory, but he had faced his fears head-on. From that day forward, Timmy vowed to share his harrowing tale with others, warning them of the dangers that lurked in the shadows. He became a beacon of light, offering solace and support to those who faced their own personal demons. As for the house, it remained a place of legend, forever whispered about in hushed tones. The shadows still danced within its walls, but its malevolence had been weakened by a small boy's indomitable spirit. And so, the story of Timmy, the small boy who braved the horrors of a haunted house, became a cautionary tale, reminding us all to confront our fears, to find the light within, and to never underestimate the power of courage.